All right, welcome, my dears. I am April, the Mystic Witch, and welcome to today's Pick a Card reading. Today's Pick a Card reading is in honor of the full moon, blue moon that we have on October 31st. So happy Halloween. As you know, full moons in general, they're a celebration of our growth. They take note of our progress, and they're a good time to reflect on how far we've come. And it's also a time to kind of take action to bring our ideas and thoughts and things that we want to manifest into fruition and fulfillment. Blue moons in particular are really about growth, knowledge, wisdom, intuition, and introspection. And I got to tell you, that's going to be today's themes. So we start off over here with pile 1. We have, I believe, an amethyst. Pile 2, we have the rose quartz. Pile 3, we have the selenite. And I believe pile 4, I believe this is fluorite. So I would go ahead and recommend select your pile, which one you're ever drawn to the most, and then head to the timestamps below to skip to your reading. And I will see you then. Thanks. This is going to be the first pile. So pile number 1, this will be your blue moon your blue moon guidance, and we will go ahead and get started with that. Blue moons are notorious for communication and clarity of expression, so let's get started. We have the reversed King of Wands. Ooh, the reversed Ace of Swords. The reversed King of Swords. The upright Knight of Pentacles. Is the Seven of Swords. We will go ahead and draw your oracle cards. Ooh. Creating through the ashes. Hold your vision, the 6th moon. Ooh, the new moon, a new start is coming. Let's go ahead and pull some vintage wisdom guidance as well. Oops. Strength. All right, pile number 1. If you chose, I think this is the amethyst stone. This reading is for you guys. Welcome to your blue moon guidance reading. And so let's kind of dive right into this. All right, for your kind of present theme of the reading, we have the King of Wands. It's the reverse King of Wands, excuse me. Reverse King of Wands really talks about an overbearing, egotistical, inflexible, arrogant, person. Oftentimes this is going to be a person in our life. Anytime we see a court card, they represent people in our life. So this is going to be a person. Now, this could be somebody it could be talking about ourselves. But it speaks about an overbearing, egotistical, inflexible sort of situation, unfair too. And we move on to the reversed Ace of Swords, and this is going to talk about, this is going to represent sort of our past influences that are kind of still having effects on this sort of situation that you're going through. When in reverse, it also talks about confusion, doubt, lack of understanding, lies. That's what this card is most often associated with in reverse. Then we'll move on to the King of Swords in reverse. And the King of Swords in reverse is exploitive, he's unfair, he's cruel, judgmental, just kind of no bueno. And then we have our Knight of Pentacles. Our Knight of Pentacles represents other factors at play. He is trustworthy, dependable. He's a hard worker, committed. He's got slow progress. He is the guy who is slow and steady, but he wins that race. And then we end over here with the potential within this sort of situation. And this is the Seven of Swords. And this card, again, is all about deception. It is about betrayal. It is about lies. And so when we come up here, I have the Union card. And this is our Union card, obviously. A union talks about some sort of partnership of coming together between two things or two people, or two situations, two businesses, whatever. Two things coming together. Then we move into the new moon. A new start is coming. We have this card over here, Skull of Flowers, coming through the ashes. We have our Strength card right here. And then our final card is going to be the Hold Your Vision Fixed Moon. Okay, so now that we have these all kind of out of the way and the meanings, let's kind of dive into what exactly this means. Kind of in light of the full moon, actually really the blue moon. Blue moons are all about growth, knowledge, wisdom, and intuition. What can we take out of this situation to grow us as a person? What is going to bring us wisdom in the future? So it's like, oh girl, honey, been there, done that. Let me tell you. All right. And then, full moons, they celebrate our growth. So this is like a double growth thing. Talk about reflections on how far we've come, what's kind of time to take action on, and some sort of fruition and fulfillment. Let's dive into the situation. So this is really talking about a person or a situation within your life. It's inflexible, it's arrogant, egotistical, it's honestly pretty negative when in reverse. When we move on to the King of Swords, this is the past influence. This was all about lies, doubt, and some sort of confusion. So whatever, this tells me that this has been going on. This is a continued thing, and it's still going on. When we move, and one thing I want to point out again, we have two kings that have made their way, which is sort of almost the end of the cycle for those suits. And then the ace always speaks of a new beginning. So we have a theme that is here. We have the new moon as well. And that's all about a new cycle, the new start of something. All right. So this is all about like the end of something and the beginning of the next. And when we have the Knight of Pentacles over here, like I said, this could be you, this could be another person, this is going to be something in here, but there is kind of like, there's going to be something that's happening to a person or a thing, something negative that's happening. I don't want to say to a positive person or a situation, but, something happening to, or bad things happen to good people or so forth, so on. And the potential within the situation, unfortunately, this is a deception, lie, or betrayal. All in all, this is telling me, especially with this card in the past and the confusion and the lies, this has been going on. And something tells me, you guys already knew this situation was coming, whether this was a romantic one, it could be in relation to your career, profession, family. This has been going on for a while. Or not a while, but this has been going on. This is not news. This is something that you've been dealing with, especially when we see the confusion, the doubt, the lies, maybe not knowing where you stand. And really, it's kind of telling you to, again, all of this, I hate to say it because it sounds so cliche, but like really using your intuition. You've already known what is going on. You've been dealing with this. Whatever is happening now is not the current time. Okay, this situation, whether it's the time, the person, the place, whatever it is, something is not working out about it. Okay, this is kind of encouraging you to take that, and it's motivation to break away and start fresh. Again, this is all about, creating through the ashes. It is, the end of something, and it's the rising of the phoenix. I love how there's a flower on the third eye. So like really, and if you notice that, there's another flower on the third eye. So again, this tells me that nothing that I'm telling you is really going to be a shocker, okay? One of my favorite, I guess my personal sayings is, again, like, this is not the court of law. You do not need factual evidence. Okay, your gut is good enough. If something is telling you something is not right, you take it and you run with that. You don't need to see, photo evidence. Your gut is good enough. And this is really encouraging you to break away, move on. Like, what can you do with this? This is supposed to teach you something, right? This is supposed to grow you through your knowledge and wisdom. Like, whatever it is, it's asking you not to repeat this again. Okay, you're supposed to take this, learn from it by identifying the red flags. Okay, next time, if I'm picking another potential partner, well, you know what? I need to watch out for if they're lying over little things. Like, that's a red flag in the beginning. If they say they're here and, they went to the gym when they went to their buddy's house, okay, red flag, okay? Moving away from that. If this is a business or a career thing or a family thing, it is encouraging you the same. Whatever it is, and like I said, it's kind of, I don't want to say this is an overtly positive, but it's asking you to learn from this, grow. Whatever is going on here. And like I said, this is a collective reading, so it's going to be a little bit different for everybody. This is the end of something. It is the end of it. It is asking you to move on from this, break away, and learn something, okay? And again, could be a two-way thing. For some of you, this is going to be actions that that's being done to you, and for other people, hey, nobody's perfect. We're all human beings. We all kind of, screw up from time to time, right? I'd be lying if I said I was perfect. No, this is telling you, what can you get out of this? What can you grow? What can you do differently next time? Is this identifying red flags, or is this asking you to just work on yourself? How are you going to do it differently? I mean, whatever your end goal is, it is encouraging you to hold that. Yes, you are on the right track. If you are after a certain profession or career or a business opportunity, this is not saying walk away from that by any means. Just the opposite, with a hold your vision. This is telling me that this wasn't the right timing or the situation or person or whatever. If it's a romantic thing, and you're really looking for that happily ever after, and you want the family, that is coming. That is coming. Do not give that up. This is not telling you to shut down. Oh, that's not for me. No, that situation or that person wasn't right for me. Your end goal is still there. Do not change that. We just need to tweak it a little bit. And this is kind of asking you're going to get a second opportunity. That is coming. That is pretty apparent with the cycles, right? Everything runs in a cycle. We end, we begin things. So this is really telling you, yes, it is coming. But in order for you to get there, to have that, what can you change or what can you do differently? Okay, like I said, for some of you, it's going to be identifying red flags in the beginning, using your intuition and running away, And I think that's a majority. And for some of us, like I said, who is perfect? This is how we learn, right? We mess up. I'd be lying if I said I never hurt a person, right? It happens. What can you do differently to evolve yourself and grow yourself out of the situation to get what you want? Okay? We're not changing what you want. We still want the end goal, but what are we going to do differently to get there? Okay? That is what this is encouraging you to do. You have got to pull yourself up by the britches and give it everything you've got. Do not give up. Don't give up hope. Don't give up faith. Just because you hit a dead end here, that doesn't mean you stop. Nope. It's time to get up and move. Oh, well, sorry, this wasn't it for me, or this situation wasn't it, or it wasn't the right time, whatever the case may be. But it's not telling you to give up. Just the opposite, actually. It is asking you what you can learn so you can apply it to this next cycle, because you are getting, for every cycle that goes by, you're getting that much closer to getting what you are after. So how are you going to take what you've learned from this particular situation and apply it to the next one? Okay. And for a lot of us, because blue moons are really about growth, knowledge, intuition, and it's really asking you, and it's growing. And I love how we have the third eyes there. It's really telling you to kind of trust yourself. Like I said, it's not the court of law. This is, as I say it, the court of April. So my gut is good enough. If I don't like something, guess what? Peace out. I am out of here. It's really encouraging you to do the same, to follow yourself, your intuition. If it's been a bad sort of sticky situation in the past, I'm not saying that, people don't change. I do think people absolutely have the ability and the capacity to change. Unfortunately, for most of us, it takes losing something. It takes consequences to actually see that happen. So again, like, what are you going to do to change? And what are you going to learn from this situation so you can get where you want to be that much faster? Because a new start is coming, a second opportunity is, ready or not, here it comes. So you have got to, start tying up these loose ends and figure out like what you're meant to learn. We're all meant to learn something from each situation. What are you meant to get out of this, and how are you going to apply it and move on, okay? Alrighty. Thank you, pile number 1. I appreciate it. See you next time. All right, pile number 2. If you chose the rose quartz, this is going to be your blue moon guidance pick a card reading. So let's go ahead and kind of dive in and get started. Shuffle up. To start you off, we're going to have the 5 of Wands. Move into the reverse Ace of Wands. And then we have reverse Strength. The reverse King of Wands. Ooh, Wands is popping today. All about passion and desire. Last card is going to be the Hanged Man. Move into your oracle cards. Ooh, Lady de los Muertos, acceptance and equality. Ooh, work through your fears. All right, my pile number 2s, let's dive into your reading. Again, this is a blue moon reading. So blue moons are all about growth, knowledge, wisdom, and intuition. We have it, that goes along with our full moon, which is a celebration of our growth, where we get to sit there and kind of, reflect about our progress and how we've been able to grow and heal and take action and things that have come to fruition and fulfillment. But, looking immediately off of this, we have 3 women. This is the divine feminine energy. This is really speaks to me. And again, this is a collective reading, but I think for a majority of you, this is going to be a very self-focused, introspective reading. Okay, so let's jump right into this. For your tarot cards, again, we have the 5 of Wands that comes first. That sits in our kind of present sort of theme. We have the Ace of Wands, which sits in our past influences. This card represents kind of the immediate future. This pile, our reverse King of Wands, sits in kind of other factors at play. And then we have our 5th and final card, which is the Hanged Man. So right off the bat, I want to point out that your reading consists of wands and 2 major arcanas. Okay, so these seeing 2 major arcanas, these are going to kind of play into some life lessons, that you are going to learn and sort of take with you for the rest of your life. And since we have it focused in the wand suit, I know that automatically this is really going to come into play with our, your desires and our passions and the things that really make us tick on the inside. So again, let's jump into the first card. We have the 5 of Wands. So the 5 of Wands is really a card that's all about, challenge. We have, a bunch of, youth kind of fighting. It's competition, rivalry, it's obstacles, struggle. And again, for some of you, it can quite literally mean, like a rivalry or competition with others. But I think for a lot of you, it's going to be something within yourself, and we'll dive more into why in a second. But, let's move into, again, that's going to be sort of the general themes that we're looking at. So some sort of struggle, competition, rivalry, it could be with another person, with yourself as well. And then we jump right over here into the Ace of Wands, which is our past influences. The reverse Ace of Wands is all about lack of motivation, blocked energy, pretty much the opposite, something that's blocking you from, the Ace of Wands is generally the beginning of a cycle. So something is blocking you, right? Or has blocked you in the past from kind of starting that. You're stumped, you're at a standstill. And a lot of that, especially when you see blocked energy, that is a very, self thing. It's an internal conflict. So even though, if we look back at the first one, it's a, card of rivalry, but we can rival ourselves and never make ourselves happy, or we're constantly comparing ourselves to other things. And when we have this, the reverse Ace of Wands, it talks about blocked motivation, blocked energy, kind of like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing with my life or what I want. You're kind of at a standstill, and you might have been sort of in a standstill at figuring out, what you want out of whatever situation, whether this is a romantic, what am I trying to do with my life, where do I want to be in 10 years, something, there's a delay there. And when we move into the future, reverse strength, it talks about, some sort of weakness, vulnerability, self-discipline, and being led by urges, right? And again, so that is all very, internal. That's an internal sort of conflict. When we move over here into the reverse King of Wands, for other factors at play, he's egotistical, overbearing, inflexible, arrogant. Geez, sometimes I feel like this reading might be for myself a little bit. And then we have the Hangman, which is the potential within the situation, which I actually honestly think is a very positive card to kind of end on. It's a card that is the hanged man willingly hangs himself from there. He is learning to see the world in a new perspective. It's transformation. He willingly sacrifices himself for, to see things differently. And then when we bounce up here, if you can see it, we have butterflies. Well, what is butterflies? That's the ultimate, sign for transformation. So for me, this is really, for I think a majority of this, I think this is really going to be about internal conflicts. It could be about addictions that we have, that we are struggling with, whether, it's alcohol, drugs, or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? Not even that, but like procrastination. Just, what are our faults? What are we really what is in it within ourselves that is holding us back? It is really, this blue moon guidance is really about identifying those factors within ourselves so we can learn, what we need to do to grow and transform. And again, we have, surrender. So it's talking about like us surrendering ourselves. We have protection. And one thing I love about this card is you have the two swans, one on the left and one on the right. And for whatever reason, this screams to me, having like the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other. Work through your fears. So a lot of, our bad negative coping habits happen because we have a fear. There's some sort of blockage there, When we have Lady de los Muertos, this is again acceptance and equality, very much the divine feminine. I love it. So, really, this to me is speaking about kind of acknowledging your weaknesses. This is super introspective. Really acknowledging your weaknesses, your faults, and it is one thing when listen, we all have faults. So we need to learn how to identify those, right? Like identifying what it is that we need to work on is issue number one, right? That's the first step to healing, right? And when you do that, you really kind of surrender, like growth begins. You've identified your weakness points, When you don't, that's half of being self-aware, right? These are my actions. This is who I am, good and bad. This is really calling on you to recognize that and to like own your weaknesses. It's not a bad thing. There's a reason we have those, right? They grow us inevitably. But it really is asking you to kind of take a look and seeing like, wait a second, for this reading, like this is really, the vibes I'm getting is like you are your own worst enemy sort of kind of gig. Like what are you doing that's self-sabotaging this sort of situation, right? This is asking you, blue moons are all about growth and, transformation, right? How are you going to transform yourself? What negative, patterns, thinking patterns, right? Are you constantly stuck in being dreadful and dreary, right? Like attracts alike. Misery loves company. If you're miserable, you attract misery. If you're happy, you attract happy. Whatever this is, and everybody has their own set of issues that they have to deal with within. This is really bringing this to light. This is very much, I think for majority of you, a very introspective thing, right? Like, what am I doing that's self-sabotaging this? Is it, my attitude? Is it? Are you quick to react out of anger? Do you have, habits that you could really let go that are blocking you from moving forward? This is talking about kind of really like accepting who you are and what you are. We have our shadow selves. The only way we can learn and grow is by really truly embracing who we are, right? And a lot of times we fear that. We don't want to be something, but you know what? Like, sometimes we are those things, and that's okay. And it's all about accepting that and changing it, right? How are you going to take this and work with it to grow out of this? You know, how are you going to bring your divine feminine energy? Like, this reading is really all about that. The divine feminine, accepting yourself, right? Accepting your faults, surrendering to things, right? That's why for a lot of people, like, I do think of addictions, and maybe that's because of myself, you know. I'm not perfect again either, and so that's the first thing that jumps out at me. And again, you know, I encourage everybody always to look at the meanings of their cards, because I've had great terrible readings but good pulls for cards. Different cards have different meanings, and some meanings resonate more than others, so I really encourage everybody to like dive into it. But again, I really think this is something that is blocking, you're blocking yourself. In this situation, you are your worst enemy. You know, like, are you being egotistical and arrogant? Are you not really addressing those things head on? And really owning who and what you are so you can change it and like harness that energy. You know, that it doesn't always have to be a bad thing. You can take those things, even the worst of something, and make it into a positive. For example, when we talk about addictions and stuff, I truly do believe that, you know, people, you know, when they recognize they have a substance abuse issue and they go and they seek help, you know, and they change, honestly, I really truly think that makes some of those people like literally the strongest willed people out there. Like, if you can do that and put your mind over matter, you can do whatever the excuse me, I can't cuss, but whatever the F you want in life, right? That takes a badass, you know, person to recognize it, own it, and be like, all right, how are we going to switch this energy up and around? How are we going to not transform it? How are we going to transform this energy, right? Like, it's part of who we are. We can't get rid of it. I can't control, like, I have the little bad, you know, evil side of me. I don't want to say evil, but, you know, we have that in me, our wild child side. What are we going to do to kind of tame that and transfer the energy and really use it to grow, you know? And this also speaks to me, like, this is a highly positive card because it's a hangman. It's talking about seeing the world and not just our world, but ourselves in a new light and a new perspective. You know, and for some people, again, it's going to be addictions. For some people, it's not. It's going to be maybe like you don't have the self-esteem or self-confidence that you would like, you know. You're constantly putting yourself down, you know. But regardless, it is, you are your own worst enemy. How do we, you know, take our self-indulgent behaviors and really change those and take that energy and learn how to reharness it and refocus it into something else? But this to me really calls into, and this is kind of cool because like you are your own worst enemy. But on the flip side, like at the same time, again, on the good side, you are your own worst enemy. You are that badass, you know, person. There is, and once you get through this, everything else is a breeze because this is your true issue. It's not something else. It's not an external factor. It is you. But once you know how to master and control you, then, you know, all, you know, these doors start opening up for you. And that's when true transformation and growth really, really happens. It's how we grow ourselves, our intuition, you know, it's just really owning who and what we are, good and bad. And, you know, it's one thing, we need to be self-aware of things. Like, this is who I am. I'm self-aware of these things. But you become self-absorbed when you don't change those things. Like, yes, let me give you a good example. Like, I can be very emotional, right? Sometimes I can get angry fast. I'm quick to get mad, you know, and yell sometimes. And that's not good. And, you know, it's great. I recognize it and I see it. Great. But if I see it and I recognize it, but I don't change anything, what does that matter? What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. Now you've gone from being self-aware to being self-absorbed, right? So that's kind of what we need to pull back from and take a second to look. This is, hey, these are my issues. And not only that, but how are you going to fix it? What is your plan of action? Is it time to kind of step back and, surrender to, what, this is what I am. Maybe it's time for, like a time out so I can figure things out because I need to change and I need to grow. And whatever those next steps are, and again, for people, they're going to be different, very different, depending on what that particular conflict is. It's really calling for you to sit, take a time out, figure out, these are my issues, X, Y, and Z, and this is how I'm going to fix them. All right? This is my plan moving forward. Because again, we can be self-aware all day. If we don't apply that to anything, then we just become self-absorbed in our issues, right? It doesn't make, it doesn't make a difference, great, I know I'm an angry person, but, what are you doing to change that? How are you going to better yourself, evolve yourself, grow yourself as an individual? And this is funny because, well, not funny, but you have 2 major arcanas, which shows that this is a life lesson for you. When you look back at your life, right, you're going to think back to this time, okay? This is meant to teach you something. This is meant to grow you, okay? And you flip this, we have strength and the hanged man, okay? You are going to need to, really utilize, everything you have within you to make those changes. And it's one of the biggest challenges, but it's so, it sounds easier than what it is because it's ourselves, And on the other hand, it's not like we're asking, another person to change. We don't have any control over other people, but we do have control over ourselves. And at the same time, changing yourself, how you react is going to be, or who you are is one of the hardest things you are ever going to have to do. And that is what this is calling on and telling you, right? And again, like if I relate this back to myself, like I get angry, what am I doing? Like for me, it's so hard because that's how I react. That is who I am. It almost feels as if that is like the woven into the very fabric of who I am, right? But the fact of the matter is, a majority of these issues or whatever these internal conflicts are, these are learned behaviors, self-indulgent things, right? We do have the power and capability to rewire ourselves, our brains, the way we think, the way we react, all of it. We have that power. And this is telling you now is the time to really, it's a timeout time for you. It is time to sit there, reflect, think, okay, these are my issues. This is what I need to work on. And then get this, actually working on it to transform yourself. Accept who you are, right? Accept who you are, flourish with that, bloom, own your weaknesses, but also try and fix them, funnel them into something else, And again, with these 2 swans under this card, under the protection card, I really feel like the devil and the angel sitting on the shoulder, and the divine feminine is all about you, who you are as a person, right? How are you going to grow to be the lady or the gentleman, the divine lady, gentleman, or whatever, whatever it is that, you identify as. How are you going to grow and get there? Because this is a very much an internal based conflict, right? So whatever it is, it's about highlighting it, working through your fears, right? Not just fears, but issues, problems, working through yourself, whatever it is, and it's going to be different. And it's in order to do that, work through that, first you've got to surrender and own it. And then once you do that and you can kind of accept it and work on it, or accept it, then you can begin working on that plan of action to change things up. And once you do, I can't even tell you the amount of peace it brings to somebody, the clarity you have, the perspectives that you will be able to see and understand at that. You will literally see the world from a new point of view. And the part of that might not even be based on, the matter, but just the fact, the actual situation at hand, but more at the fact of if I can change and get through this, then really anything is possible. And I really think that that's a majority of what this speaks to. And again, blue moons are really about, growth and wisdom, your intuition, and like really get back to growth and transformation and surrendering to that. That's the only way to do it. So, this is all I really have for you, my pile twos. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time. All right, pile number threes, if you chose a selenite, this reading is all for you. So let's jump into your blue moon guidance reading. Okay. Card number one. Ooh, the reverse Queen of Pentacles. Ooh. The Five of Wands. Ooh, Wheel of Fortune. Ooh, I love that card. Ooh, the High Priestess. Last but not least, the reversed Nine of Pentacles. Ooh, Change, the Mummy. Your dreams need a practical plan. Full moon in Taurus. Take time to breathe out. Trust. Release. All right. Pile number three, let's kind of jump into your blue moon guidance reading. So to start it off, in the, kind of present general theme, we have the reverse Queen of Pentacles. And of course, the Suit of Pentacles really relates to our earthly kind of needs and desires. Can often relate to money and such. But the reverse Queen of Pentacles, oftentimes it can talk about a person who's kind of bad with finances. They might borderline on greedy, maybe even a little jealous. And definitely not the best financially. Also, when we move into the Five of Wands, this talks about, these are kind of our past influences that are kind of relevant in this situation. And that's all about conflict, competition, some sort of, kind of rivalry among something that we kind of desire, want, right? It's the wand suit. So this could very much be like definitely more career, profession, based, for a majority of you. Stepping into the third spot, which is our future card, we have the Wheel of Fortune, which I love. Wheel of Fortune is all about, obviously, fortune, luck. Tends to, and luck can go two ways, bad or good, but this definitely leans kind of more positive. And sorry about that. It talks about destiny, change. It's all about a cycle. And when we move into, pile number four, this is, other factors kind of at play. We have the High Priestess. I love her as well. She is kind of all-knowing in a bit, in some senses. She is a card of like mystery, intuition, secrets. If you look here, she sits behind, there's this little veil. She is a link between the two. She knows she's enlightened. There we go. She is spiritually enlightened. She can see beyond that veil. So sitting in the other, the fourth spot, again, that is going to talk about, our intuition, positivity, patience, inner wisdom, mystery, and also secrets. And then for our kind of the potential within the situation, we have the reverse Nine of Pentacles. It talks about, and this could go two ways, okay? So for some of you, this talks about, just financial difficulties, dependence on others in some form, specifically money. It can talk about loneliness. It can talk about somebody being a workaholic. Again, envy is also associated with this card. But since we also have the Wheel of Fortune and the High Priestess. I'm also going to say that this in reverse can also mean just the regular meaning, which is, you know, she's financially independent. She has found success on her own in what she does. And sometimes when we have a card in reverse, it can mean, you know, that reverse card can take on a whole new meaning, or it can just be the initial meaning and with a delayed, you know. So this doesn't say, you know, all negative. For a lot of you, this could just be a delay on this. You know, like, yes, the potential is there. It's just going to take a little bit to work through it. Okay? And what I like about this, and I would really say this does relate to our dreams and our passions, and probably something that affects our money and career or our profession or whatever it is. And the reason why, you know, if we look up here, we start off with, you know, you need a practical plan, or your dreams need a practical plan, correct? We also have, you know, release, taking time to breathe, and the change. So this really does tell me, and I love the trust card. Okay, so my initial gut reaction is whatever you are on, whatever you're trying to achieve or accomplish, you are on the right track. This is it. This is it is good for you. This is in your favor, but the way you are attacking this is wrong. There's something, the way you're handling this, whatever you're doing, whatever your current plan of action is, that you need to release and move away from. You got to change it up, right? What's the definition of insanity? Is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. Okay, so that should be key to you, right? Like, we do not want to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. Why would it change if you're doing the same thing? It doesn't. If you want a different outcome, you need to do something different to get that outcome, right? So it is really calling on you to changing your thought patterns, whatever you're doing. I would say your plan of action. Maybe you have the wrong plan of action. Maybe you're doing the wrong things to ultimately get to what you want. Right? This is calling for you to stop, take a break, and kind of regroup on, okay, yes, we're heading in the right direction, but we're not going to get there going this way, right? Like, we took the wrong road. We got to get back on the main highway and refigure this out, right? Yes. So, and for a lot of you, you know, we have the person... Deer stands on power. Deers represent power. So this tells me like something about you and having the hand of power in this sort of situation. Maybe you don't have it, maybe you want it. And this is kind of why it makes me lean more towards, you know, career, dreams, you know, and professional reading, because, you know, in order to kind of get to the end goal, like, what are you going to do and change about yourself? Like, how are you going to transform what you're doing? You know, because whatever you're attacking, however you're going about this, is not working. I wouldn't say this is like a deep internal conflict or anything. It doesn't seem like that. It just kind of seems like, well, you're a workaholic. That's come up twice, especially with the Queen of Pentacles right here and the Nine of Pentacles. Whatever it is, it's not working. It is time to stop, take a break. If you don't, this can mean all sorts of things. You can burn yourself out, you know. You can really like lose the passion in what you're doing. Like, do I even like this? Is this really what I want to do? Do I even enjoy doing this, right? No. So this is really calling on you. Like, you could be, you know, so caught up in whatever it is, you're not taking time for yourself. If you do not take time for yourself, that, you know, whatever happens in our personal lives, that trickles over into our professional lives. You know, I don't care how good you are keeping the two separate, it's impossible at some point, right? They bleed over, right? It becomes who we are. So you really need to stop, take a break, right? It's almost like you're going in circles here. And I wouldn't say like you have any sort of energy blockages or anything like that, or you don't know what you're supposed to be doing. I don't get that feeling for this. I kind of get that, yes, you know what you're supposed to be doing. You know, like, it's almost you are kicking it into overdrive when you need to kind of pull back a little bit. And like, take a time for yourself to breathe out. Whatever it is, like, you are going to burn yourself out, right? Like, you're not being practical with this. You know, you are really you're putting too much on your shoulders at this point in time. So this is asking yourself to like, whoa, how do we kind of pull back a little bit because that is going to burn you out. You're not going to get your, whatever it is, the end goal. You do need to trust yourself. It is not a matter of like, can you do this or can you not do? No, you can. You will get, you probably already are kind of halfway there, if not there. But if you don't take time to kind of focus on yourself, like, you aren't going to really appreciate, what it is you're seeking. You're going to get it and be like, oh, do I even really want this anymore? Like, are you satisfied with this? You need to stop and think about, like, where you are almost in this process, in this cycle. What am I doing? Why am I doing this? Is this really what I want to be doing? Yep, it is. Okay, cool. Well, your end goal, what your end goal is, but this is going to burn you out. It is time to take a break, take a step back, and kind of regroup. For some of you, this is all going to be, for some of you, it could literally mean being, like, I just need a 2-week vacation. I'm like on overdrive and I'm killing myself. For other people, it could be, I'm starting a business. It is not going as fast as I would like to, or it's not growing as fast as I would like to. What can you do to kind of like, okay, what am I doing now? What's not working? Let me see what isn't working so we can figure out and readjust and figure out something that will work here. I would say you are 100% on the right path. It talks about trust. That's kind of goes along with our high priestess right here. And I love this. For some of y'all, this could mean, you're working, this might be the future wave of psychics working right here. Because this card is often associated with psychic ability. But anyways, backing up, you are on the right path. This tells me you are on the right path. This is highly favorable for you. For some of you, this is a break. This is a time out. You don't want to burn yourself out. And for others of you, this is, again, you're on the right path, but it's like putting, you almost have your puzzle complete, but you keep trying to put the final piece in the puzzle, or not the final one, but you're putting it in the wrong place. You're trying to make 2 pieces that don't fit together, and it's like, whoa. Stop, break up. It's time to find that right piece that goes in there. Deers, and we have a lady with deer horns here. And we have another one on here. They are a symbol of regeneration. Antlers kind of fall off and they grow back. So again, regeneration really makes me think of, oh, wait, stop. Time to take a breathe out, right? Like, that's all about soul regeneration. Like, are you depleting yourself? Is your love tank like half empty? Is it full? What are you running on? Again, this is going to fall, since it's a collective reading, it's going to fall 2 ways. Again, this is going to be very, like, it's time to lighten your load, lighten up on yourself. You need to trust yourself. You don't always have to be going 110 miles. For other people, like, again, you need to trust yourself. You're on the right path, but whatever you're doing right in this second, like, those 2 puzzle pieces aren't fitting together, which is fine. Like, you're going to solve that puzzle. You're almost there. It's almost completed. But maybe you need to kind of take a step back and reevaluate, like, what pieces you have that might fit better there, And really, again, too, if this is like a career or profession, if you're having a business, like, are sales kind of lacking, or, you're not getting enough, is your marketing, not where you would like it to be, then it's kind of time to sit back and figure out, why? Why is that? What can we do to tweak this to make it better, right? Like, I have to make all the wrong decisions to figure out, like, what the right one is, and it's oftentimes the last one for me, but we get there, right? And I think that's what's calling for you. Yes, you're going in the right direction. You're on the right path. And again, a lot of you, it's a time out, breathe. You need to kind of take time for yourself, because if not, that leads into depression, being overworked. When we're depressed, we are cranky, we are crabby, we are kind of mean to the people we love. We're short-tempered, It's kind of a warning to go against that. And again, this is a blue moon reading, full moon. This is about growth, self-growth, right? And like self-love as well, like, you gotta heal yourself, take time for yourself. Not only that, but like, if this is a specific thing you're working on that you're trying to grow, and fix, like there you might see a problem with something, and it's kind of asking you like, okay, let's take a look and evaluate what the problem is, right? Like, let's see what it is so we can figure out how to fix it. It's very, very highly, I would say, extremely positive of a favorable outcome. I would say whatever it is, you're definitely on the right track. You're there. You're close. You're almost there. But we just got to do some final tweakings on whatever it is that's left. Is it ourselves? Do we just need a break so we can, take a step away and kind of learn to, reevaluate, how we're doing things, or just take time for ourselves? Or are we just, is it in our actual day-to-day practice? Like, oh, you know what, this, maybe, I'm marketing on Instagram, but I don't think that's really working. Maybe Instagram's not where my market, what's the word I'm looking for? Demographic, maybe Instagram's not where my demographic is. Let's switch to Facebook and try Facebook marketing, Whatever it is, it's going to kind of call on whomever to really stop, look at their actions. It could be internally, it could be like something day to day. Again, it's a collective reading, and figure out like, okay, stop, we need to kind of let this go so you can grow whatever it is that you're working on. Are you working on yourself, your career, a business, your relationship? Whatever it is, it's kind of time to stop, take a break out, and really reevaluate what you're doing, figuring out what you can change to make this situation kind of move along faster. Again, with the Wheel of Fortune and the High Priestess, those are more favorable cards to me, so I really do lean on, like, whatever this situation is, you're there, you're almost there. You're in that freaking final stretch, but now it is time, you're in the final stretch, but whatever it is, now it's time to kind of, before you get there and finish it off, this is the time to kind of put the finishing touches on yourself or whatever this is. And in order to do that, you're going to have to stop, take time, and reevaluate, like, what is going on? What is in this that's not totally working? Like, I'm almost there, but not quite yet. So, like, do we need just a little bit more oil in the engine or gas in the engine? Whatever that may be. And again, your dreams need a practical plan. Let's just, reevaluate our day-to-day actions, right? That's what this speaks to me. What am I doing on a day-to-day thing that I need to reevaluate and change up? Again, you are almost there, especially with the trust and stuff. We have trust, we have her. Yes, you're there, you are on the right track. But whatever it is, sometimes when we want it so badly and that's all we're focused on, guess what? Like, it seems that much more out of reach. And sometimes it's time to take a step back, either work on ourselves or just kind of like maybe sleep on the issue, whatever it is, to figure it out. But regardless, whatever it is, I'm very, very, I've got good feelings about this. Whatever it is, you're almost there. It is about to work out. It's just the final tweaks before your masterpiece falls into perfect place. Okay, my pile threes, thank you so much. Have a great day, and I will see you next time. All right, my pile number fours, welcome to your Blue Moon guidance reading. If you picked this stone, I believe some sort of fluorite. It's green-ish. One of you would probably know better than me, but we're just going to roll with that, and I'm sure somebody will let me know what it really is. So I apologize in advance. But let's dive into your Blue Moon guidance reading, pile number fours. All right. We're going to start by pulling 5 cards. We're going to kick it off with the Page of Swords. And I'll show you guys each the card into the reverse 4 of Swords. Ooh. Ooh, the reverse star. Ooh, there's the 2 of Pentacles. The Page of Wands. Ooh, Vampire, emotional intelligence. Your commitment is being tested. It's time to take action. Ooh, protection. All right, pile number 4, so let's dive into your blue moon guidance reading. We're going to kick it off with the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords kind of represents the present, the general theme, and that talks about, curiosity, cleverness, sharp wit, ideas, announcements. It's often the time it's like the start of usually like what we study and end up doing with the rest of our lives a lot of the time, and sometimes it can actually represent a literal person. So then we're going to move into kind of our past influences. We have the reversed 4 of Swords, and so that is all about, kind of depression, overworking, ignoring signs of needed rest, overthinking, laziness too. It really has a multitude of meanings. But since it sits in the past influences that are still kind of nagging, that have a little bit of an effect, it could mean some sort of like just general, like it could even mean mental illness or mental illness in general. So not necessarily just depression, but anything like that. And it could mean a hiatus too. And so this sits in the past. So moving forward, we have the Star. I honestly, in the reverse thing, I like to say this is going to go two ways. This is a collective reading. So for some of you, this is like, yes, I finally see we're coming into the future, and it's, yes, I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. It has been delayed. It is freaking about time. We are finally there and seeing some progress, right? For other people, the reverse star takes on a whole new meaning. In general, the star means hope, and whatnot, but in reverse, it also can, again, it talks about depression, illness, arrogance, impotence, being ignored, hopelessness, all right? And that could be a start. It's a warning, honestly. And like half the time that, any reader does something and we have something that doesn't have the best meaning, in the future, it's a warning to change your actions, right? We don't want to be right about these readings. The whole point is to be wrong to change. We have the power to change things. When we move on to 2, the 2 of Pentacles is all about balancing, coping, multitasking, navigating through like kind of troubled waters. And he's successful at it. He's figured out a way to kind of make all these parts move together at once. And this is like kind of the other factors at play. So that shows that like there are other things on, whatever your plate you're dealing with, or a multitude of factors. And you got a lot going on. This could be romance. You might have children. This is, and your career, trying to balance everything together, family, whatever it is. It could just be like trying to balance your emotions too, even within how you cope. Do you cope well? Do you cope bad? Do you have good coping mechanisms? Like, what are you doing? And then when we move into the Page of Wands, that's at the end, that's the potential within the situation, which is actually very positive. It talks about childlike enthusiasm, it's adventure, spirited, good news, and again, he's like the apprentice in his trade, getting started, We move up here, we have some adventure. We have the Adventure Oracle. We have It's Time to Take Action, Vampire, Emotional Intelligence, Our Commitment is Being Tested, and Protection. So right off the bat, I see the Emotional Intelligence and the Vampire and the Protection, and I want to tie this in because we've had 2 cards down here that have talked about depression and illness, okay? So this can go one of 2 things. Like, really, I think that this really talks about setting boundaries for yourself. Like, where do you draw the limits with yourself, with others, with other people, that you've some sort of boundary? Because if you don't, and I'm sure in the past, this speaks and says that this has caused many issues with you before. Like, this is like overly stressed you out, could have even made you sad, whatever. And you have emotional intelligence, you know what I mean? And you probably sit there and you absorb that from like your surroundings, the people around you, your situations, whether they be positive or negative. So especially when they're negative, it's important to learn how to protect yourself, ground yourself. How are you going to protect, like, what is your mechanism for protection? How are you going to do that, especially, and these 2 especially tie in with the 4 of Swords and the reverse star. Again, and it could be talking about yourself, or it could literally be talking a warning of somebody. For some of you, it could be a warning of somebody. Like, do you have an emotional vampire? Is it a person? person? Is it a situation that you really need to protect yourself and establish some really firm boundaries with them? You know what I mean? Because if not, this is a warning for you. You know, like, you're going to go back to this. You're going to be stuck, right? Like, this was in the past. You know, if you don't change, if you don't make a change, guess what's going to happen? You're going to fall back, right? We don't want the reverse star. We really want it upright, right? That's the goal, you know. And like I said, for some of you, it's great. You've learned it. You're mastering it. And like, the gist of this is like, hey, yep, there's light at the end of the tunnel, and this isn't your next immediate future. So like, there is some good news. But again, for some of you, it's a warning, right? You know, if you don't set these boundaries, if you don't protect yourself, whatever it is, you're going to go back to whatever happened in the past, right? We want to leave that in the past. So like I said, it's a call to action it's a call to action. It's time to take action. I love that. But it is a call to action to really check yourself and check your people and your situations around you, what's good for you, what's bad for you, because this is a warning not to go back. Okay, like, this isn't, hey, let's take 2 steps forward and 5 steps backwards, right? No, we don't want to do that. And I love how, you know, we have the balance card here, because, like, it's so important to get into a rhythm, to figure out how to balance everything to get us. And so we want to run our day. We don't want our day to run us, correct? Right? And so that's extremely important, right? And your commitment is being tested. So I think that, again, it goes back to this, like, how committed are you to making something work, right? If you don't establish these boundaries, right, you're going to go back to this. And again, we don't want that. We are trying to move forward. And things might seem, when it says your commitment's being tested, again, with the 2 of Pentacles, we see these rough waters, right? So it's really highlighting the fact that, like, yes, you are going something, you're navigating through something. Your higher self or whomever, whatever, knows this, and it's kind of part of the plan, right? We need to understand that you've mastered this lesson back here, right? So we can continue moving forward. And, like, have you learned all those lessons, right? Like, have you figured out how to balance your everyday life, everything that it entails? It's crazy, especially, you know, we're moving into the holiday season coming up. So, you know, if things weren't crazy before, guess what? They're about to go 2 steps up. How do you balance everything, right? You really need to check that, because your balance that's how you handle and manage and balance things is part of your growth. And again, it's calling to action, like, hey, have I done everything? Have I learned this? You know, and for some of you, it's telling you also that it's time to take action, like a new opportunity is opening up. For some of you, this could be like, kind of like, what am I doing with my life? You know, I've just kind of been stuck before. I wasn't getting anywhere. It's kind of time to make those decisions. It's time to figure it out. It's a good time, a good omen. It's a great omen to, you know, really figure out, you know, what it is. What is next? What is that next? Well, next is coming into play, right? And in order to get through the next, we need to make sure that we know how to balance and cope with everything. Because if we don't have room for it, that, you know, if there's no room in our life, if we're already stressed out, you know, to the max, you know, how are we going to get that? You know what I mean? Like, how are we going to move forward and take on something else? So, like, really making sure you have all your little ducks in a row, you know, because here, again, we have adventure. And I love that, because the Page of Swords, both of them are associated with adventure, you know, travel too. So, like, that is super positive. And also, it might be time for, like, a break too, right? Like, if you're so stressed and worked out, you know, you're kind of feeling hopeless, like, maybe it's time to be like, time out, you know what? Let's go on an adventure. Let's go do something fun. Let's, like, shake things up, do something we didn't do before, you know what I mean? And see what else is out there, you know? Like, there might be something calling for you, you know? You never know. And for some of you, again, you know, you might find, you know, I kind of know what I want, but, like, I need to figure out, you know, how do I balance what's going on within myself, how I manage things, you know, so I can move forward with that, because like that's kind of my future and my destiny and the sort of path I want to go down. And again, with the emotional intelligence, you know, a vampire, you know, they kind of suck everything up. I want to say they suck the life out of us, but that's a two-way thing. Again, that could be you in the sense like you are, like, especially if you're an empath, if you're empathetic and intuitive, you really, in those situations, you absorb everybody's feelings, everybody's emotions, good or bad, and you really internalize those, right? And so it's very important to protect yourself, right? To fully protect yourself. And I love how she has her third eye and emotional intelligence, so that means something. To fully protect herself, so she's not really taking on the burden. Like, is that really your problem? You know what I mean? Sometimes we take on other people's issues, and they're not really our issues to begin with. It's not really our problem. You know, you don't have to make everybody else's problem your problem. So you need to think about that. And again, for some of you that won't be the case. It is a direct warning of like you're a person. Like, protect yourself from a person or a bad situation, right? Because that is going to lead you back down to a place you don't want to go back to. Like a dark time. We've all been there. We've all had that. It is really time to, you know, we've already battled that battle. Like, we don't want to go back there. It's time to open up a new chapter. And so it's really important to set those boundaries with yourself, with other people, so you can continue doing what you need to do and really managing everything that you already have kind of going on before we add anything back else into it, right? Because we have, it's time to take action and adventure. Like, it is a good omen, but it's also calling on you to reflect, hey, are all my ducks in a row before I head the hell out of here? You know what I mean? Or I go off and do this. You are really going to need to make sure they are. That is a huge, I would say, warning, is making sure you have everything in a row before you start whatever it is you're going to start, this new chapter, adventure, whatever. You know, it's coming, it's exciting, but again, we need to make sure that we really have everything aligned. We're not making any of the same mistakes. You know, we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's, just so, you know, it's not like, oh, crap, I forgot that again, or gosh, damn it, I did this again. You know, nope, none of that. It is time for a new chapter. This is the time to take action. It is the time to go. However, again, you're going to need to protect yourself from your environment, surroundings, people, because we don't want anything from the past to kind of resurface. But this is, you know, very exciting. You know, I think when your commitment is being tested, honestly, like, that's your commitment to kind of yourself, you know. All the kind of progress you've made in the past up until now, like, what are you doing, you know? You're going to really be tested upon that, and it's very important to understand what you need to master and make sure you've mastered everything that you were supposed to learn before you open up this new chapter. But again, it's super favorable. I'm very, you know, excited for you. Whatever it is, whatever action you're about to take, whatever new adventure, new chapter you're starting, it is extremely favorable. It is just telling you to proceed with caution, okay? So thank you so much, my Pile 4s. I'll see you next time.